Hello, my name is Kathryn Bruder, and today I will be analyzing the existence and significance of Fosterian elements in Amy Tan's book The Bonesetter's Daughter, which was released in 2001. I intend to discuss the Fosterian symbols of illness, or ideas from the chapter Is Never Just Heart Disease and Rarely Just Illness, and also the importance of writing through utilizing the ideas from the chapter It's My Symbol and I'll Cry If I Want To, which discusses abnormal symbols and how to identify them. First, there are physical and mental illnesses mentioned throughout the novel that supports Foster's chapter on illness. Two examples include Luling and Precious Auntie's suicidal and or depressive tendencies, and another example includes Luling's struggle with dementia. To start off, the characterization and connection between mother and daughter is arguably the most important theme in the novel, as we see many specific instances of sacrifice, loss, and guilt within the relationships that tend to lead to feelings of depression and or suicidal thoughts. For example, Precious Auntie's tragic experience with losing her lover baby uncle and her father in such a short period of time obviously caused her a lot of grief that instantly changes the course of her life. This causes her to be in a depressive state that she attempts suicide by drinking boiling ink, but she survives and is ultimately forced to be physically silent and to live with the scars. This is a shocking juxtaposition, I think, to how independent she was before, as she, again, must now also be silenced about having a child out of wedlock, too. Later, the experiences of her daughter, Luling, will be reminiscent of her trauma, as Luling also loses two lovers much too soon, the first due to World War II and the second from a car accident, and must learn how to be a single mother to her young daughter Ruth. Luling, quote, never got over it, unquote, and for obvious reasons, but her depression worsens to a point of attempted suicide as well. One example of this is when it is inferred that she must have read her daughter's diary entry regarding their quarrel on cigarettes and tried to jump from a window. Foster notes 3 requirements that an illness should have in order for it to be likely used for a story. It should be picturesque, mysterious, and symbolic. Depression is not necessarily picturesque, and in this case, the cause for it is not so elusive. But whatever these examples lack in the first 2 categories, they make up for in the last. The similarities between mother and daughter subconsciously deepen and add a layer of complexity to their connection, I think. So it definitely qualifies for the symbolic category in Fosterian, how Foster thinks disease should be. It is also sadly ironic that they come from a family of healers, yet they struggle so much with their mental and physical health. Speaking of, the antagonist family, or the Chang family, produced coffins, so that juxtaposition will help the reader identify the opposition. As a final example for illness, Luling has the physical condition of dementia that acts as a catalyst for Ruth to delve into her family's history and care for her mother. The confusion that Luling goes through almost ironically triggers a need for clarity in Ruth, and in this case the illness may have brought Ruth closer to her family ties, breaking the curse of guilt that Luling and Ruth feel towards not appreciating their mother's sacrifices in time. The second Fosterian element that I would like to talk about requires a bit of a disclaimer. In his chapter, It's My Symbol and I'll Cry If I Want To, Foster discusses how a reader should approach a symbol that is unique or unfamiliar, and to summarize, he basically says to use the context of the story and your own background knowledge of prior stories. The funny thing is, a symbol I found to be extremely prominent in the story was writing. Not only the act of writing, but the words themselves, and the experiences that stem from them, which you would think authors in general would talk about much more in their literature, but it's a bit abnormal. It's kind of like literatureception. Anyway, though Foster may not explicitly state writing as a frequently referenced symbol in his book, the analyses will be based on the recommendations he described for finding symbols in the wild. Okay, moving on to the examples. First, Ruth's family was rooted in the production of ink for writing. Luling ran a part-time calligraphy business, and Ruth is a book doctor for her occupation, where she helps people communicate. So, in a literal sense, writing is intrinsic to their family. Second, the experiences that stem from writing for the characters develop the context for their situations, such as how Luling would communicate with precious Auntie and how that defines their relationship, or how Luling would often force Ruth to practice calligraphy and how that would often cause stress in their mother-daughter relationship. Additionally, Ruth saw writing as opposed to speaking as a saving grace when she broke her arm, because people treated her differently when she couldn't talk. Basically, positive attention was directed towards her when she used a sand-covered tray to communicate. Finally, the words themselves in the written excerpts further the plot immensely. They oftentimes create long-term guilt, whether it was from the diary entry from Ruth or the letter that Luling received after her mother had died, well, her biological mother. And it creates long-term guilt, especially when Luling and Ruth read those subjective mothers' writings on their lives. Only then are they able to truly appreciate their mother's sacrifices and feel guilty for not doing so before. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and have a good day.